Hey everybody, it's time for Avian First Aid, episode 10. This is the last episode involving bleeding. Dr. Gordy is going to talk about treating lacerations and some safety tips to prevent bleeding injuries.
And then a laceration usually would be a cut on the body somewhere, and that usually would happen if they flew into something sharp or in birds that have wing clips that are too short. If they try to fly and they hit a hard tile floor, the keel bone is sharp enough that it can split. So you see a lot of them splits at the bottom of the keel bone. Usually the bleeding in those is not long term because it's just the skin that's split. The ones that are worse are if they get a laceration on a deep muscle body, on the shoulder, on the chest. Usually those ones are birds that have had altercations with other birds or other pets. So if they're with a mate that's aggressive. So again, what you want to do is you want to get the bleeding stopped. If you're there when it happens, pressure is the best, and you just take gauze, hold it over the area, and most of the time, if they haven't got a major artery, the muscle belly will stop, bleeding fairly soon. And then you can decide if you need to have it sutured or if you don't. The keel bone ones, although they don't look serious, they're very difficult to get to heal without stitches, because once it splits, the skin spreads a little bit because it's kind of stretched over that area. So often you keep getting a scab and they keep falling and they keep breaking it again. Whereas if you can get the skin to join over top, then that protects that area. As a prevention with bleeding, I mean, obviously with blood feathers to prevent that from happening, one of the reasons that happens is if a bird has a short wing clip and then he gets one new feather. That one new feather is sticking out like a sore thumb, and then he flies and he smacks it on something. So if your bird's wings are clipped, when the new feathers start growing in, be extra careful with things that you know that he does where he might fall. I mean, I know what things freak out my birds, and I would put them away before that happened. If you have a cockatiel that gets night frights, it's very difficult to predict when that'll happen. So in that bird, you might choose not to clip wings, because the advantage of long wings is that when this one's molting in, there's feathers on either side to protect it. So if it hits a wall or smacks something, it's way less likely to damage that feather. Toes and legs, the big prevention is don't let birds go on other birds' cages. Be careful with toys that they can hook things in, toys with rope that they shred, they can wrap around. So take your scissors and trim those kind of toys if they start getting worn. And for small birds, there's some feeders for canaries and budgies that have a tiny little slit on the front of the feeder, and often birds are perched there eating, and particularly if their nails are long, they get it through there and then it's stuck and they fight and they pull it. So I don't choose the ones with the slit, I choose the ones without, that are just flat, because then they can't hook. And the other thing is, if the nails are getting quite long, trim them so that they don't hook on things. Sometimes you'll see nails that go right in a circle. Well, they can even hook on a cage bar, and the bird doesn't necessarily know to unhook it like this. Then they fight and tear it off. With beaks, again, if the beak is super overgrown, trim it, but that's usually an accident. That, again, if you know your bird's going to freak out about something, put them away when it happens, but occasionally that'll happen anyway.